I think my most favorite line of the whole movie was, he says, well, what do you want us to tell the judges? He says, just tell them I love my wife.
Right.
I mean, how this speaks about marriage and how relevant it is today as well. I mean, this story just sort of transcends.
If Richard hadn't said that line, I would have hoped to write it. It is the perfect distillation of the point at hand here. I think equality is a thing we never really fully achieve as a society. It's something that we are constantly working on and holding up to ourselves and saying, all right, how do we define it right now? As a generation, how are we going to define equality? And in 10, 20, 30 years, how will people look back on us? And we're in one of those moments right now. It's an important moment for lots of different reasons. Racial equality, marriage equality, socioeconomic equality. And we have to define it for ourselves. And Richard and Mildred, they show us how to have the conversation, because they remind us that they're people at the center of it.
Right.
And that's what he means with that line. That's what he's showing, is just the humanity that they were trying to be left alone and have.
It's a simplicity. I mean, it's literally just, love.
Yes.
I'm sure in the research that you did, speaking with the family and whatnot, what was it that struck you most about their story? Or maybe that really, brought into the film?
I mean, there's so many things. One, the complexity of race in the South. I grew up in Arkansas. Race has always been a part of my life.
I was in Florida, same thing.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when we look back on stories from the Jim Crow South, segregation was such an insidious thing and such a tragic thing. We only focus on the separation that it caused. Separate water fountains, separate bathrooms. But sometimes I think what might get missed in the shuffle is the amount of codependence of these communities on one another, the complexity of these relationships. Right. And Richard and Mildred in Central Point, the community they came from, I mean, I've never seen an example of that complexity, kind of laid out so plainly. And I mean, that was one major thing when you really get into the specificity of Central Point, where they were from, the racial mingling that had been happening between the black community, the white community, the Native American community
right.
for decades. These are a very unique people, and it's fascinating to learn about.
Yeah, for sure. And I was just talking to Joel, because you do tend to, in some of your films, go a little bit otherworldly.
True.
So I was thinking, an alien will come down, take them up to another planet, and they can live their lives however they want. He said actually, Michael, there would be a crop circle and Mel Gibson come walking. I go, no, Michael Shannon.
And if you notice, you don't know where Michael Shannon comes from in the film. He just shows up. So I'll leave that to you all.
Captures that moment for them. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure meeting you.
Nice to meet you.